Namaste. My name is Nishtha and I'm recording this video for the Better Life Foundation, Roorkee. This video is a loose translation of Dr. Navneet Arora's video on a meaningful life. I am dividing this video into a few chapters so you can skip according to your interest. I will start with a disclaimer of sorts and an introduction of what I hope to achieve in this video. We will then look at the question of why should I bother with this inquiry of what is a meaningful life? Then, what is a meaningful life? We will try to define both of those terms. And finally, how do I go about living this meaningful life? I hope to end with a recap and a review of possibly action items that we create for ourselves during this discussion. So let's get started. As I said in the beginning, this video is a loose translation of Dr. Navneet Arora's video, which is to say that this is not a word-by-word translation. I have certainly tried to incorporate all of his ideas from that video in Hindi, but I could not avoid adding my own ideas and my own understanding of these concepts. It was inevitable that they would come in. If there are any errors, then those errors are all mine. If you notice them, please do let me know. I think that this idea of a meaningful life should not just be an academic, philosophical discussion. We are all living our lives, and in that sense, we all have a stake in this question. We do not necessarily need to have a degree in moral philosophy to think about these concepts. I am hoping for this video to be more of a discussion of these ideas. I will put forth my opinion, and I hope you will take the time to share with me your reaction to those opinions. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with me? Do you have another take on these ideas? I certainly want to hear them. So the first question that we might want to consider is, why should I try to live a meaningful life? Why should I worry about what is a meaningful life? Why do I get involved in this inquiry? So let me propose an answer which might sound trivial at the beginning, but please indulge me. I say we should think about how to live a meaningful life because we can. And I said it sounds trivial in the beginning, but let's explore that a little bit. When we look at life in the universe, at least to the best of my knowledge, there is still no proof of sentient life anywhere other than on Earth. And then on Earth itself, biologists do not seem to agree on any one single sentence definition of what is life. But life on Earth is broadly divided into non-cellular life forms like viruses, or cellular life forms that include bacteria, plants, animals, fungi, human beings. Again, to my observation, it seems that possibly the COVID-19 virus is not able to ask, am I having a very meaningful life right now? So it seems that this ability to ask the question of a meaningful life rests only with human beings. So that puts some kind of onus on us to indulge in that inquiry. Even in the human realm, we find that a lot of human beings right now are living in conditions of extreme poverty, in conditions of severe physical pain, mental disabilities, in war-torn zones. We may not want to admit it, but right now human beings are being bought and sold, being trafficked for sex slaves, being trafficked as slaves to work in fields, and so much pain exists in the human realm that it seems that possibly those human beings might not have the physical, mental, emotional strength to sit down and ask themselves this question of what is a meaningful life, how do I make my life meaningful, and so on. And I am assuming that if you have the time to watch this video, then possibly, to quote from John Kabat-Zinn, there is more that is right with your life than that is wrong. So, yes, we might have problems in our own lives. You have a boss from hell. Maybe you don't get along with your mother in law. Your employees don't listen to you. Your kids don't tell you anything. Yes, we might have those problems, but if we have a somewhat stable, reasonably calm life, then just the fact that we are the ones who have this ability to ask the question of a meaningful life makes it a sort of Kantian moral imperative on us to put the effort in this inquiry and to bother with this question, because really we can. So let's maybe take a moment to feel some gratitude that our lives are so much better than those unimaginable hardships that some other human beings are experiencing right now in this moment. And also take a moment to send thoughts of love and kindness to those human beings who are suffering these extreme hardships right now. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings grow in wisdom. Sabka shubh ho, mangal ho, kalyan ho. So I hope that realizing the preciousness of this human life motivates us to pursue a more meaningful life. Now, coming to the question of what is a meaningful life. For most of us, our efforts in life could be broadly categorized into our physical life, the health and well being of our physical bodies, our mental, emotional life, our intellectual abilities to understand concepts, and the ways in which we feel about events that happen around us and how we react to those events, our social life with our family, friends, which to a large extent includes our concern for our financial success, because that dictates the extent to which we can be a contributing member to the social fabric that we find out. So then, when we are answering the question of what makes life meaningful, in a sense, we are asking what makes my physical life meaningful, what makes my mental life meaningful, my social life meaningful, and so on. So I might think that achieving physical health makes my physical life meaningful. But if my good diet or exercise involves hurting other people, then is it meaningful pursuit of health? The same applies to my mental health. Let's say a Gunda decides to learn. So he holds a teacher captive and says, teach. Would we call that a meaningful pursuit of knowledge? Similar ideas could be thought of in my social and financial life. I might want to have good relationships in my social circle. I might want people to think good of me. But if, in order to make other people think good of me, I start bad-mouthing someone else, I start lying and making other people look bad so I can look good, will that create meaningful social relationships for me? Possibly not. When we look at all of these together, it seems to me that the idea of meaningfulness is leading us to some idea of right and wrong in our relationship with other people. That there is a right way to achieve your physical, mental, social, financial goals, and there is a wrong way to achieve those very same goals, and somehow the meaningfulness in life lies in doing things the right way. So it seems like there is something else underlying those earlier broad categories that we had come up with. And that underlying aspect of life is the spiritual aspect. Your idea of right and wrong, your worldview, your notion of moral, ethical behavior that seems to permeate all the other facets of your life and that provides meaning to those aspects. One of the things to keep in mind when you're making your lists and trying to be a better person, trying to bring more meaning into your life, is to think of yourself as someone deserving of good treatment also. So we have a relationship with people around us, with animals, plants, with the material world around us, but we also have a very important relationship with ourselves. So in trying to lead a better life, let us not forget ourselves in that. Let us not become martyrs and keep putting up with abuse from others. Let us also extend some of that love, that gentleness, that caring, that right behavior to ourselves also. So now let's look at the question of how do I go about creating a meaningful life? To recall, we said that life is meaningful when our physical, mental, social, financial goals are achieved by not causing harm to others. We talked about this idea of there is a right way of achieving those goals and there is a wrong way of achieving those very same goals. And the meaningfulness comes from doing things the right way, of staying in line with our own spiritual aspect, of bringing all these five aspects in balance with each other, living in accordance with our understanding of moral, ethical behavior. So the how is answered by bringing that balance about. So one of the first steps of bringing about this balance would be to become aware of what we are doing right now, to become aware of what my motivations are to undertake actions. Sometimes when we are busy fulfilling our to-do lists, we are involved in the daily rigmarole of life, we get caught up in doing things mindlessly. So perhaps what we need to do is to take a step back and question ourselves to two things. One, what do I believe? And what am I doing? So in terms of my physical health, what are my beliefs? Perhaps maybe I believe that it is injurious to my physical health to drink Pepsi and Coke. Then make a list of, are my actions in line with these beliefs? In terms of my mental, emotional health, possibly I might think that getting angry is not a skillful way of dealing with situations that have not gone the way I want them to go. But when things do go wrong, is my reaction that of anger? If yes, then my action is not in line with my thought. And the first step would be to be aware of these discrepancies. So wherever you think makes the most sense for you, maybe make a list of what are your beliefs, what do you think are right and wrong actions, and then watch yourself, observe yourself and see what your actions are. This idea of examining one's life has been something that has been proposed again and again. Socrates said that an unexamined life is not worth living. In Buddhism, there is the idea of yoniso manasikara, the ability to pay close attention to what is. So start there, make your list. That will give you mental clarity on where to begin. Then comes the hard part of making the right choices, of bringing the two into alignment. Again, you would start wherever makes sense for you, depending on your particular situation, your age, if you're a housewife, if you're a student, you are a businessman, which aspects, the physical, mental, social, financial, what aspect of your life do you want to start with? And slowly things will start spilling into the other aspects of your life as well. And the final step in trying to make life more meaningful would be to work on improving your idea of right and wrong. So in the earlier step, I said you start with what are my beliefs and then what are my actions? Are my actions in accordance with my beliefs? But later on, as you progress, you would want to say, are my beliefs correct? Let me give a small example, going back to the Pepsi example we used earlier. Maybe you think that drinking one Pepsi a day is good, and then you start drinking only one Pepsi a day. Or maybe you think drinking two Pepsis a day is good, and you start drinking two Pepsis a day. You will not. But the problem is that just your thinking something is right does not make it right. There has to be a right action irrespective of what you think. So the last step would be to examine this moral ethical structure that you have in your mind. Where do my views come from? It is sometimes called the purification of view. Unfortunately, it is something that we must each go through for ourselves. In some of the world religions, the idea of right and wrong is an outside diktat. It is by appeal to authority, a book, a religious leader, someone tells you what action is right and what action is wrong. That is how it is for the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. In the dharmic traditions, the idea of right and wrong is believed to be something inherent to the human being. That every human being on their own is able to discern a moral law that underlies the universe. So just like there are physical laws that govern the physical universe, so there is gravity, there is the electromagnetic force, and so on, in the physical world, there is an idea that there is a moral law that governs all our actions, and if you live your life in accordance with that moral law, you get the benefits, and whenever you break the law, there are some moral consequences to that. Again, even in the dharmic traditions that come out of India, there are maybe small areas of disagreement there. You may believe that what is right because it improves the quality of your soul, or you may not believe in the soul. That would be something that you would have to sit down and figure out for yourselves, and that would be the final process, which is possibly the work of a lifetime, the purification of your views. So to recap, we have talked about why should I worry about this question of having a meaningful life, and we answered that by saying that we realize we have this precious human existence where our lives are reasonably stable and calm. Realizing this preciousness of the human life that I have should motivate me to pursue meaning in this life. Then we looked at what is a meaningful life, and we said that meaningful life is a life where the physical, mental, emotional, social, financial goals and purposes are achieved in the right way, are achieved by doing good for others, and if we cannot do good for others, at least not harming others. And that aspect is dictated by my spiritual life. So then we talked about how do I go about achieving this meaningful life, and we came up with 3 steps for that. The first was to examine our lives right now, make a list of your views and of your actions. The second was to make effort on bringing your actions in line with your worldview, with your moral ethical beliefs. And the final step was to actually work on questioning your belief system, on working on the purification of your view. The way you would do that would be to educate yourself, to research, to read, to talk to other wise people, to have good friends who would like to have these kinds of conversations, and then to sit down and think about all these ideas that are presented to you. It is a work in progress. It takes an entire lifetime to make your life meaningful, and I wish you all the very best in that effort, and I hope that you will make that same wish for me. May I find meaning in my life. May you find meaning in your life. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings grow in wisdom. Sabka shubh ho, mangal ho, kalyan ho.